Understanding financial independence via frugal living is really easy. In fact, it's so straightforward that it can be thoroughly taught in one video. However, if achieving financial independence is so simple, why so few individuals achieve it successfully? Graham Stephan, living frugally at 28-year-old and who attained financial independence at a young age, has shared his best money-saving advice. For those who don't know, Graham Stephan is a well-known YouTuber who is recognized for his advice on saving money and living frugally. Nevertheless, it took him 11 years of working an 8-to-5 data entry job before he became financially independent. Graham despised his job so much that he believed it would be extremely uncomfortable to work in this capacity for another 40 years before retiring. Consequently, he changed to becoming a real estate agent. At this time, Graham discovered his first financial independence tip. Number 1. Cutting back expenses. You may be asking how Graham's decision to purchase a rental property relates to living within your means. For those who don't know, one of the major costs the typical American has is housing. Graham's leasing arrangement enabled him to reduce his housing expenditures to zero, whereas the average person spends between 30 and 50% of their yearly income on housing. Purchasing a multi-family property where you live in one unit and rent out the others is a cheap house hack. If done correctly, you may effectively get a free place to reside by bringing the whole cost down to zero. However, it is advised that you make a 10 to 20% down payment on the house, since doing so would drastically lower your mortgage payments and make it much simpler for you to find tenants who will pay the rent. There are 2 alternative ways to live for free if you find it impossible to do so. Purchasing a single-family house where you rent out rooms to other people is the first option. The alternative method is referred to as rent hacking. This method is similar to house hacking, except that you rent out individual rooms in the rental home or arrange for roommates to share costs. It's time to focus on the second largest expenditure now that the greatest expense has been reduced. Although it's well known that vehicles are costly, Graham thankfully has another tip that might enable you to achieve financial independence. The act of purchasing any automobile is known as car hacking. After a few years of use, you sell it for the amount you purchased. For instance, you could spend $10,000 on a Honda or Toyota, which seldom ever experience depreciation, drive it for a few years, and then resale it for the same amount. In this manner, you completely transfer the expense of the automobile while nevertheless operating a fantastic vehicle. Another major barrier to saving money is entertainment, but with a little ingenuity and self-control, you may easily reduce your expenses while still having a good time. Going out for a night, for instance, may be quite costly when it comes to anything from transport costs to food and beverage costs to additional costs. It's typical to spend upwards of $100 on cocktails, but you can simply save money on beverages by purchasing the alcohol yourself and consuming it before you go out. Additionally, you can always cook at home, which eliminates the need to purchase a main dish at a restaurant in favor of a modest side dish. Clothing is another significant expenditure that may be reduced just like entertainment. For instance, designer labels are quite expensive, so if you're not buying them at a significant discount, you're wasting money that might be used to achieve financial independence. Therefore, if you're going to purchase clothes, be sure to choose high-quality clothing from much less expensive retailers like H&M or designer outlet shops. Travel is one of the most frequent costs that might be challenging for individuals to reduce. You clearly don't want to skip a flight to see relatives, for instance, if they live abroad or in a remote area. A fantastic technique to assist you, maybe travel for free, is by seeing your relatives. Credit card churning is a practice of signing up for credit cards that provide travel rewards that may quickly accumulate to the point where you can book round-trip flights on luxurious hotel stays completely with your points. You may swiftly build up your savings so you can retire early by banishing as many costs as you can from your life. But you should choose to eliminate another significant cost as soon as you can. Number 2. Save your money. Graham Stephan, Living Frugally Tips, came to the conclusion that living within your means and saving money were the two surest paths to financial independence. In truth, there is a simple technique to calculate when you will be able to retire. In essence, how much you spend compared to how much you save each month will determine how long you may work before retiring. For instance, if you spend 100% of your salary, it stands to reason that you would never be able to retire. You may retire in 37 years and retain your present standard of living if you save 20% of your salary. When you save 40% of your salary, you'll be able to retire in 22 years. And when you save 70% of your income, you'll be able to do so in 7 years. You may achieve financial independence in the precise time period you choose by knowing how much of your income you need to save. Graham was able to do this task quite swiftly because of his extensive savings. In fact, by the time he was 21, it enabled him to purchase a rental property. However, since he was raised with frugality, he did this naturally. Fortunately, being thrifty is a virtue that everybody may practice and customize as they see fit. Number 3. High interest debt. Anything having an interest rate of 5% or more is often referred to as high interest debt. These debts often resemble credit card debts, college loans, or loans for medical expenses. In the worst situation, these debts might cause you to lose years or even decades. Graham became aware of the terrible effects that high interest debt can have on anybody. In order to avoid getting into debt, he always made sure it wasn't a low-interest fixed-rate mortgage. To retire early, you must pay off your bills. But you must also take precautions to avoid going into debt again. To evade from having to pay interest, it is essential to pay off your credit card debt as soon as possible. Never borrow money for something you can't afford either. This implies that before considering it as an option, you should be sure that you can genuinely afford to go to school or acquire a new automobile. You'll definitely advance to financial independence more rapidly when you're able to pay off your obligations and avoid taking on any new ones. Number 4. Investing. A relatively basic idea. Investing is often misrepresented as being much more complex. Thankfully, Graham Stephan has provided us with a simple approach to ensure that you are investing your money as well as possible. First off, because non-taxable accounts like your Roth IRA, 401k, and HSA are tax-free, using them will dramatically increase your capacity to retire early and reduce your stress levels. Next, start making investments in a stock market portfolio, such as a cheap index fund. These funds follow the overall stock market, which fluctuates by 10 on average annually. This is a fantastic method for quick and simple financial growth. Making sure you are consistent and that at least $30 is invested from each paycheck is an excellent place to start. This is a simple technique to make sure your portfolio is expanding quickly. How you determine when you have enough money to retire is now the issue. The Trinity research or the 4% criteria are the most secure approach to guarantee steady income in retirement. But let's use some real-world instances to demonstrate. Let's assume that you need $52,000 a year to survive. Accordingly, if you want to live without losing money, you need $1,300,000 in your portfolio. If your lifestyle requires $80,000 a year, you would need 2 million in your portfolio to be able to live comfortably. Let's imagine your lifestyle necessitates spending $240,000 annually. To support that lifestyle, you would need $6 million in your portfolio. Now that you are aware of this, you can set a numerical target for how large your portfolio should be in order for you to continue the healthy lifestyle of your dreams without having to work another day. But it's crucial to understand how to use the money-saving advice in this video the most effectively. We've reached the end of another video, and thank you for watching. I hope you have learned about Graham Stephan living frugally. If you like this video, do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. Thank you and goodbye!